Hello. Oh, okay. So I had a thought to record. I'm walking and in the beginning of the walk, but I did not. And maybe like 15 minutes later, which is now, the thought popped in again, and I looked up and saw 4444. A bird started to call. I realized the clock said 243, which for me is always like a etheric presence is with you, as well as a dog just started barking. Like all these things started happening. External construction noise appeared as I was crossing the street. Now I'm seeing 000. Whew. And I just created a new offering, and when I was releasing that offering on Instagram, 444 was coming up, so this definitely feels connected to the like thematic, is that a word? Thematic energetics that wanted to be called the Pearlescent Presence Portal. That phrase has been circling and manifesting through different ways since like maybe 2024, 2025, 2024. At least like pearlescent presence. And then, like I said, it's been revealing different layers of itself over time. I'm now walking by a rainbow flag. I guess like a pride flag. Interesting. I'm being tapped into like the phrase rainbow arc. Of course, the rainbow body, rainbow essence, and now I'm being reminded, yesterday I kept being clicked into like the heliotallic, which is like the rainbow pastel spectrums. And I'm seeing this like someone almost like energetically weaving or stitching together these frequencies that sort of, I'm seeing a pulsar. I'm hearing many different things at once. So it's like this collision, but it doesn't feel like random or dramatic like a collision, but it can also kind of be perceived as a collision if you haven't been maybe like prepped for it. So for some people it may feel like a collision. Not trying to say that it's not. Yeah, and I'm walking by an address 321, and I've been seeing 321 or like this countdown energy for a while, and now I'm seeing 2222 in pink. Interesting, like pearlescent pink, bioluminescent pink. That energy seems strong. Andromeda galaxies coming through. The Aurora time spiral has been showing up so strongly lately, which is also sort of woven into the energetics of this pearlescent portal offering that I had so much fun. Well, it's still really technically being created, right? It's a co-creation, but that I launched. I wrote about it on Substack as well, which I'll pin below if you're interested. And anyway, so I wanted to wait to record until I was back at my computer because I temporarily have this access to a microphone. Ooh, I just got tingles in the top of my head when I said that, like really intensely. A little bit more to the left of where like a lot of lotuses are depicted in in visual art for the crown energetic center. There's like this effervescent spark essence, like energetically sort of pouring through. Fairy lights could be significant, or like outdoor lights, solar lights. Okay, so as I continue tapping into this, there's like I just got a notification on the Nextdoor app. I don't know, someone here could be a dental hygienist, or like you could have just gone to the dentist, or you're going to the dentist. That could be a confirmation for someone. But yeah, maybe you've been feeling a ping to like be more visible lately, like posting on apps like Nextdoor or launching something, you know, just showing up in places more physically after like a period of hermit or deep release, purge, rest. For some of you, this could be like starting to come in. You could be hearing and seeing sirens. In my last transmission on YouTube, I posted about the number 911, so there could be significance for someone there. Also, I just saw like the phrase back burner, like put it on the back burner. And my main focus for a while was like YouTube, Patreon, YouTube, Patreon, YouTube, Patreon. And lately I've been feeling a call to focus a little bit more on like YouTube, Substack, and actually just started kind of curating some of my content that I've already made and stuff that I'm currently making for Spotify. I just launched my first 2 and I'm working on my 3rd now, but episode. Anyway, so for a little while, I've been like, I really miss Patreon, but it's like, there's only so much I can focus on at once. So there may be something like that for you where you like, feel like maybe you had to like temporarily step away from like your current flow or structure of something to like open it up for something else to be cycled in. And I'm hearing that there will be like a new structure flow that it will be created from this. Right now it might feel a little bit like that collision energy, just kind of like out of your like the quote normal flow. There's like a new normal flow coming in, essentially, is what it feels like, or that's happening like in real time. There's another siren going on. Also, this has been floating around. I just had the honor and the pleasure of being a part of a webinar for Portal to Ascension, the re-evolution of consciousness. And I'm still newer to like presenting live in that way. I think that was only my 2nd time doing it in that format. And so I was like, you know, tuning in, making notes, like really just trying to be as prepared as I could be. And when I tapped in and showed up, you know, I had my notes there. I actually barely used them. And I just, like I said I was going to do, just show up and allow for the transmission to emit organically. And I realized after I was finished, I'm not sure how long after, that the last time I spoke on Portal to Ascension, I brought through a very similar theme. I was speaking on the what I call like the Akashic womb portal and my experiences with that. And I was like mortified at myself for a minute. I was like, I finally get to do something that I was like shown that I would be working with Portal to Ascension in like 2021. And I was like, yeah, okay, sure. Like totally didn't believe it. I laughed at when I was like really, really tuning into my channel then and like bringing through. I lived alone and I just was really, really tapped in a way that I was like creating the space for it. Now it's just sort of a part of my everyday experience because I've integrated that. But anyway, so I remember I pulled that through and I was just like, yeah, okay. So then here we are, like 4 years later, and my 2nd time. And then I felt like I was like, how could I, you know, bring through the same thing? And I didn't even remember. Like it was like, but that's what I was guided to do. So I did it, you know, because if I would have remembered and prepared for that, I would have, my like conscious mind would have never been like, yeah, sure, let's bring through a similar Of course, it wasn't word for word, but it was still like, like a very similar energetic strand that I had already tapped into. I have this thing where like I really don't like to repeat myself, and when I do, I get like, I don't know, it's something I guess I'm still working through. But anyway, I felt guided to share that because there may be something, of course, it may not be exactly similar, and I just let out like a little release burp. There just may be things that perhaps, like a structure in your mind that you think like, okay, I don't repeat myself, so therefore blah, 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 right? That's just one example. But there may be something that you're doing and you're like, oh, maybe I have to let that. And again, it wasn't like I was intentionally just sitting there repeating myself. That was what, I've been doing this for years now. And when I tap in, I've learned to really trust what comes through. And so, however that context can fit into whatever it is you may be experiencing, there feels like there's these like bubble bursts of, perhaps in the past, things that may have worked for us are no longer serving. So it's like letting that go with grace, I just heard. So some of you here may already be just like in the flow of that or realizing this. And some of you may be having a little bit more of a harder time. This is just something, 11:33 on the timer, that feels like is happening. And I just looked up and saw a license plate with 1113. So 3s and 1s could be very significant. And I kept seeing 3s and 1s right before I was about to launch this Pearlescent Presence Portal offering. And the price that came through was $133. And I just kept seeing 3s and 1s. So there's like another aspect I can feel sort of peeking its head, almost like when a turtle like comes out of its shell and like sunbathes, it's like slow, but it's that like melodic, the word melodic is coming through. Okay, this is fun. Now I'm seeing another, I love this, 2 Rainbow Pride flags, and one is the traditional rainbow, and the other one right next to it, there's a truck going by. Trees could be significant. And it's like a pastel rainbow. And I was literally just talking about the primary color rainbow template and then the heliometallic or pastel template. And there it is, right in front of my face. And the address it's centered around is 1616. So you could be seeing repeating number 1616. I'm also walking by 2233. Whew. Okay. So in the Substack article that I was tuning into the written transmission or the written essence of this, actually I feel inspired to go back to Patreon. So I'm hoping that I also tap into like a Patreon overflow for this particular transmission. Like the last 2 transmissions, I just decided if I'm meant to do overflow on Patreon for them, I will. But maybe like the last 8 or so, I have not. Anyway, just some housekeeping logistic stuff. But I definitely want to tap more into the weaving of the heliometallic rainbow templates and the primary color rainbow templates, and what that means like practically for our physical vessels, in the energetics with the overall time spiral through the like also getting the Melchizedek lineages, in particular the feminine Melchizedek lineages, and through this sort of like mother arc rising, essentially is the word that came up. Okay, so I will be tuning into that at some point, hopefully in the near future. And there was, I was talking about the Substack written frequency transmission for this. And when I decided to, I wanted to like launch this what did I call it? Like an ancient future frequency constellations experiment sort of vibe is what I'm going for here. And this like idea of a rotation, like in an art exhibit, there's like a curator who puts together an exhibit, right? So this is like an energetic portal rotation where the current collective codes that come in, I open it up to a certain number of spots that I feel like are nodal points that we can co-create together. And I already posted like the beginning anchor point on Substack, and then the people who sign up when it's over and this current collective portal of the Pearlescent presence closes, I want to like put together the the essences that came through for this next octave of the Aurora timeline spiral and put together a Substack, like sort of anchoring that. I don't know, it just felt very fun to try and like play with this a little bit and see if anyone else is like feeling that as well, or wanting to be a part of this sort of imprint that I felt called to start and like have it be like the sort of ripple effect. So yeah, that's kind of what this embodies. And so when I was writing up the description for the launch yesterday, I realized it was the eclipse. I honestly did not record that. I'm staying with my sister still, and my brother-in-law and their kids, so like life here is very like, I guess you could use the word beautiful chaos. And both my niece and my nephew are under 4, so, and they both have a lot of energy. And yeah, so I've just been sort of creating in between helping with my sister, my brother-in-law, and the kids in the house and stuff. And so yeah, I wasn't like sitting down like, okay, today is blah blah blah. I just like, I tried to launch this like 3 different times in the last few weeks, and it just didn't feel right. And then yesterday when I went to I write about this on Substack, how there were just like so many instantaneous like synchronicities that happened as I was making live the Stripe link and refining what I had written, about the offering. And what I'm not going to share all of them because I did write about some of them, but you know, the phenomena of like quantum leaping, timeline jumping, quantum shifting, you know, there's so many ways we can talk about it. I'm trying to remember. I think I had my like first conscious quantum leap in like 2018. It was so fun. I'm not going to tell the story right now, but if anyone wants to share like any of their stories and experiences, I love like reading and listening to other people's as well. But anyway, I got the ping, if you will. I kind of woke up after feeling just like different bouts of like collective anxiousness and restlessness for like weeks. My body was just so tense. I was listening to so much frequency music, you know, I was doing breathing, I was doing all the things, but I just kept feeling this like buzz, and it was really living like in my jaw, especially when I was sleeping. And I was listening to more Yoga Nidra, really helps me. And then I just woke up yesterday and I felt this like calmness, this like internal calmness and this like warmth. And I was like, yeah, it's just, if you know the feeling where you're like, something just shifted, like where there's a new energetic strand that's grounding for certain collectives that are rippling through, you know, like you just, and the more you do it, the more you feel it more collectively, is at least my experience. So, and most people that I've heard. But anyway, so I was like, yeah. And I didn't even realize that, like I said yesterday, I didn't look at the date. I didn't realize it was the eclipse. I knew the eclipse was coming, but I had just started my moon cycle. And I could feel more coming through, like the somatic responses as well. Anyway, 4th. So, and I've talked about this before, but whenever I sense these like quantum shifts, if you will, this phenomena that plays out, whatever you want to call it, glass breaks in some way, almost every time, like clockwork. And so after I have this feeling, I go to this cafe, I sit down. Oh, and in the Substack article, I talk about a beet latte that I ordered. I think it was like a white chocolate beet latte. There's synchronicities around that too, but I mentioned that and strawberries in the article. And so, well, I'm just walking by a black cat. So cute. So you could be seeing black cats, where there could be a connection to black cats, but I'm also seeing panthers, black panthers. Yeah, like shamanic underworld. I feel like my mouth is going numb, my tongue, and I felt the same sensation when I was channeling for the Portal to Ascension Re-Evolution of Consciousness event, and I still haven't gotten like a deep release of information on that, but I keep feeling this like nung tum sensation. I also just heard the phrase 7 tongues. 7 tongues. Yeah, there's a very like deep shamanic energy like swirling through, you know, and I talk a lot about like the pearlescent presence and the Christos Sophia, but there is this like this darkness, you know, and we can take that as many layers of like emotive connection to darkness, you know, so that is very present as well. Anyway, so as I was sort of tapped in a little bit more deeply, I'm writing, all these things are happening, and as I'm talking about like quantum leaping, quantum shifting, in the cafe, someone drops and breaks glass, and I've been in that cafe like 3 times or something, and that had not happened before. So I was like, oh, yep, here we go. And then I opened YouTube and was like listening to 2 or 3 different YouTubers that I felt called to listen to. I kid you not, all 2 or 3 of them, I think it was 3, mentioned we just went through like quantum leap, quantum shift, etc., etc. And the dreams that I had been having had also been like gearing up for that as well. So yeah, lots of confirmations. I'm getting more tingles on the left side of the crown. So someone here could be really working with like the left hemisphere of the brain and or hemi-syncing, but there's something really potent about the left side right now. Oh, I'm walking by a pineapple. I've talked about the metaphysical meaning of pineapples throughout different transmissions before, so that could be a connection code coming through for some of you. But there's something about like richness, the word like richness and like a golden richness frequency. So in the Substack article that I released today, I was tapping back into there's so much coming in, so I'm just going to like take a deep breath. Okay. So a few days or like a day or 2 before I released this launch, I was laying down and maybe I was sitting up. I don't know. My eyes were closed and I saw RA with like a gold. I can't remember if it was a circle or a triangle. Because I kept seeing circles and triangles, but it was like this illuminated, like beautiful gold color. And of course, Ra came to mind, the sun god energy of Ra, the archetype. Ooh, you hear that engine? Yeah. And this idea of the Christos Sophia, right? Like the golden. Oh, yeah, there's like, it's funny because I was feeling the left hemisphere of the brain, and now this like masculine charge, or this like electric charge is coming through so strongly, and seeing 000 4 times in a row on trash cans, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? That 0 point field. Like I was talking about the nurseries of like nebula and the birth of like protostars, and that's like the energy I've been getting so much. Also, the pinwheel galaxy, which is a spiral, was coming to me as well. The podcast name that I'm really weird with names. I've always had a hard time with like names and titles. I don't know, maybe you do too. But the name that came through was Spiral Gnosis. I'm getting tingles on my fingertips. The Middle Path. I don't know if I'm going to keep that, but that's the name of the podcast so far on Spotify. And I kept getting confirmations about spirals and the word gnosis. It just kept coming through. And the pinwheel galaxy and this like nebula nursery of like pink stars. There's so many connections also through pink stars. Actually, when I used the shamanic journey, I would always talk about this pink star that I would see. And, you know, different layers and meanings came through about it. And then I met someone who I haven't seen or talked to in a really long time, but she also would have visions of this like pink purple star or planet. And then I just found this pinwheel galaxy, which I've tapped into before, but it came to me really synchronistically. And it was talking about how there's this like electromagnetic energy, or there was another word for ultraviolet, where all these stars radiate this pink, it's like pink star energy. And it kind of came through as like the rose ray, you know, like this essence that we can tap into, or these lineages of the rose ray or the Sophia, right? So that masculine consciousness, the Christos, the golden light, and then the Sophia, the gnosis, the wisdom, the feminine, the vessels to hold this Christos consciousness. And so, yeah. My audio cut off, so there may not be the smoothest transition when I piece back together, but I did just take a new way today walking, so it's like covering new ground is sort of something that's coming in. And a plane actually I just noticed is overhead. I'm also seeing a drill for some reason, a drill and a guitar or a violin. Okay, so I was speaking about also the Pleiades, the number 17, kept coming through really strongly as well. And I just looked up and saw the planet and went behind a cloud. So it's like I can hear it. I saw it for a second. It almost looked like a shadow projection or like a holographic projection, but I can't quite see it. So I feel like it's really strong in this energy as well of what's coming in. And there was also a point that I was talking on a few minutes ago that I keep feeling, but I can't quite catch it again. So I'll see if it comes through. When I was writing for Substack, and some of the synchronicities about like this idea of being in this next octave of the Aurora time spiral or timeline. And so, yeah, that is essentially what is coming through. My right wrist just ached a little bit, and my left ankle today kind of like gave out for a second, and these definitely feel collective. So I'm almost seeing someone like tied up, sort of like the whole idea of like the crucifixion. So there could be something like being resurrected, you know, like this collectively, this part of us is being resurrected is what it feels like, that has been sort of, well, tied up. And is birthing through. And you know, like they say a new baby is born, like, I don't know the stats, but pretty often. So there's something about that, like so many new creations, animals, creatures, discoveries, you know, like there's still so much to discover internally, as well as like our own planet and solar system, and continuing to ripple out through density and dimension, you know. So yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is my launch this week is sort of encrypted with these energetics. And of course, there's so much more layer and nuance, but I wanted to just come onto YouTube and sort of release some of these codes and just let it do what it does. So thank you. Oh, by the way, now I'm walking by more mirroring numbers 5005 and then 2022. So I was talking about 2024, right? Twos. There could be something about twos. Like 2 years ago, something coming up like in a cycle of twos, 2 days, 2 months, 2 years, something like that nature. Interesting. I'm also seeing the phrase like BYOB and then also bird, but like BYRD for some reason. Bird. Is that even a thing? I think I went the opposite way of where I'm supposed to go, so I'm going to turn around. There was one more thing I could feel coming in. Let's see. Oh, I was talking about the archive from 2024. So the synchronicities that were leading me to release Mythos Body Care was a transmission that I recorded in 2024. I linked it in the Substack article as well. And the link for the Stripe, if you want to be part of the Pearlescent portal for this rotation, then yeah, you can just click on the link and more instructions will follow. Instructions isn't the best word, but details. Yeah, the word encryption feels so strong. Re-encryption, re-encrypting our own like DNA map essentially is the way it's coming in. Also I'm seeing RNA, but there's, oh, now I'm seeing 1119, which is my birthday number, and 777. There's so many numbers coming in. So yeah. I know I was talking, there's a lot of this jumping around, so thank you for receiving this. If you are still at this point, I know that there's a lot coming in a non-linear fashion, so I know that there's also one other aspect. 555 on my timer. Yeah, changes in the air. And someone could have just been talking about like spatial awareness. That just came through. Spatial awareness. Okay, and the Pinwheel Galaxy is also known, I believe, as the Triangulum Galaxy, which I connected with like a few years back. So yeah, some of you could also be tapping into like the Trinity, the three found folder flame, guardian consciousness, and I'm seeing 55 again on a license plate. So yeah, swift changes. Like I just almost want to scream. Like I just got this energy to just like start screaming. So I don't know, maybe after a period of that fog, and I know this comes through a lot, but again, this is not linear, and even when we have all these excitement, like there's still so many of us, and 243, that number is the one I opened with, so I'm seeing that on a license plate. I think it may be time to close this transmission, but yeah, there's something about like embracing the fullness of the emotive spectrum and experiences. So we want things to be so great, and we focus on that sometimes, but like embracing the polarity, the duality, and all of the mundane, the mystical, and just sort of, that's the Sophia wisdom, right? The pearlescent presence of witnessing. So yeah. All right, thank you. Oh, I thought that was the perfect closing, but I realized an open loop when I was speaking about the 2024 Mythos Body Care transmission, and I was tuning into the raw frequency. And I remember that week I kept feeling the ant people and like the Hopi. Like every time I would lay down, I kept feeling them come in. And then strawberries started showing up synchronistically, which I also talk about in the Substack article. And I was trying to locate a different transmission in my YouTube archive, and somehow it led me to this Mythos Body Care, which for some reason I don't remember that one. Like I remember a lot of the names of the transmissions, but that one I just didn't remember at all. And something told me to click on it because it came up twice when I was looking for something else, and I was like, where's the one I'm looking for? So I clicked on that one, and sure enough, in the description was talking about Ra and the ants people and kivas and the dwellings that they would prepare for the Hopi, this whole thing. And I went through the description. I'm walking up a hill, so you might hear my breath getting a little bit heavier. It was talking about strawberry. So anyway, this was all as I was launching this Pearlescent portal. So it was like connection codes that I had put together and moved together a year and a half ago were coming forth for this launch in very synchronistic ways. And like I said, there's many more nuances and connection codes and synchronicities, but I will officially leave it there. Okay, thank you.